What's going on, everybody? This is Moose and Jack here from Occupy Fantasy and DFS Magic, respectively. Here to break down the Monday edition of the Occupy Fantasy Daily Plug, talk about some Showdown, DFS picks, and lineup advice for FanDuel and DraftKings. You all know me, I'm Moose at CFB_Moose on Twitter. Decided to bring in Jack, creator of our lineup builder over at OccupyFantasy.com. You can catch him out on Twitter at DFS_Magic_. What's up, Jack? How's it going?
Hey Moose, good man. It's been an exciting weekend to play, and honestly really excited to just kind of play this weekend. You know, it's like the first time we haven't been rolling out a bunch of new lineup builder features and everything. So just happy to be enjoying football a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. We were talking about it on Sunday, and you're like, wow, I can actually just relax in terms of lineup builder stuff. So shout out to you all. And if you're new here, you don't know what we're talking about, OccupyFantasy.com is where you can find us. Jack has his lineup builder that we've partnered with, DFS Magic. You can check it out, Occupy Fantasy, one of the smartest lineup builders in the industry. But we're not here to completely talk about the lineup builder. We're here to talk about some picks as well for you all. So, Jack, let me ask you this first question while we're getting some questions in here. Throughout the week, Jacobs was considered questionable, doubtful, whatever you wanted it to be with an illness. He is active, but they did bring up someone from the practice squad. How are you handling that?
Yeah, I think you just gotta kind of play him straight up. It seems to me that if he wasn't, well enough to play, they're probably not going to play him. And he's probably not going to be a super highly owned player just given the price point and the other, popular tight ends and Lamar Jackson, obviously. So, yeah, man, I think if you just kind of gotta assume that if he's active, he's ready to go. I think good news is it's not like a lower body injury or anything that could get kind of like nicked up while he's going. Always possible that he'll get sick during the game or something. But yeah, I don't know, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you and I were talking about this before. I think if he's healthy enough, he's active, so that's good. The only thing that worries me, but again, something that you couldn't really control, is what if his illness acts up during the game. I don't think that's going to happen, so I think he's good to go. Let's see here. K104 says, much love to Moose and Jack. Donated $10. It's the top 3 core plays on FanDuel. Jack, we normally don't give away plays, but I think Lamar Jackson is pretty much the cheat code. Anyone else that kind of stands out for you that would be considered a top play on FanDuel?
Yeah, I agree that, probably don't want to, and apologize for the sirens are always going by where I live, but, we don't give out like lineups, but I will say, just looking at the pricing on FanDuel, it's physically impossible to play both quarterbacks and both stud tight ends. Mm-hmm. And they're all very good players, but someone's going to get the shaft ownership wise. Not Jackson, probably not Waller. So to me, the ones that stick out are Andrews or Carr, and given the Occupy model is very strong on Oakland or Las Vegas tonight. Sharp bettors, as the plug mentioned, are on Las Vegas. I'm gonna say Carr looks really good for a lot of reasons tonight, and because of the pricing, decently likely to go under-owned in a good spot.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing too with Carr. So start off with both quarterbacks. I think you're looking pretty good. Yeah. SD is in here in the chat here. Says, I'm just here to see how tan Jack is after his vacation. So
I'm not that tan. I'm still super white, but I'm a little bit more tan. I like hide under umbrellas and towels for most of the day, but no, it was good. It was a good time. I went to Kauai. If anyone's ever been there, it's a fun time.
Wow.
Nice. And I would just add, we just sat here and recommended 2 quarterbacks. To be clear, if you've been following us, we don't always just do that, right? Like we love to recommend lower owned player stuff. But just tonight, it does seem like a good night for the quarterbacks. But thanks for the shout out on vacation. It was great. Ready to be back at it.
Absolutely. And so if you're watching this here on Twitter, we're going simultaneous on Periscope and YouTube at the same time. So if you're watching us here on Twitter through Periscope, click the link. That'll bring you to a new window. If you're already signed in through your Twitter account, you'll be able to type and ask questions. We're here till about 7:30, give or take, as long as we have questions. If you're here on YouTube, make sure you hit that thumbs up if you like what you see here. But yeah, so Jack, let me ask you this then. Lamar Jackson, we talked about as the top play on FanDuel. We pretty much have to jam him in there, but could you make a case that you don't necessarily have to put him in your lineup, or even like not necessarily as a captain, but not even in your lineup at all on DraftKings?
Yeah, I think so, and I'm sure Brian would be here to give us his excellent opinion as well. But we know pricing is a lot tougher on DraftKings. We know full points per reception and yardage bonuses is a very significant thing. I think that's really kind of the key reason why, just because of the scoring and the pricing is why that might be possible. I mean, it's still a risky move for sure. I mean, you can see we project Moore to still be almost 100% owned. I think it's the total is something like 90. But yeah, I mean, I think that there are more ways to win, just given the scoring on DraftKings. What about you?
It's tough. I mainly play more lower risk contests, so it's almost impossible for me to leave Lamar out of a low risk lineup. In high risk, I could see it. I would still probably keep him in my flex spot though. If you're doing if you're doing 150, I could see maybe doing 5-10% without him in your lineup.
I think it also just the first thing you ask yourself when even in high risk is like, what are you playing for? Like, are you playing 400,000 person contest trying to win solo first, or are you playing a small GPP, or are you playing that big contest but you're happy with 10, 20, 30 weight chop because it's still probably a lot of money. So yeah, if you're playing for the ultra high risk solo takedown of $1 million, then like you can get there, but you just have to accept that most of the time you're going to lose. But like you said, there's a lot of contest selection there where it just makes no sense to leave him out of your lineups.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Ed.bets are in here talking about Carr captain for all the money. Let's hope. I mean, a lot of, like you mentioned earlier, a lot of money, a lot of sharp bettors, a lot of people were picking I keep calling them Oakland, Las Vegas to win tonight or at least cover. So let's hope Carr gets there. Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. Chris is in the chat here. Says sleepless Sunday on a Monday. Yep, I got to do it, Chris. So let me ask you this then, Jack. Here till about 20 more minutes or so. Wig has a question. Says any Mariota love? I see Peterman is inactive.
Probably not for me. I mean, injury maybe. It did. I think it did actually. Did it win last year? I think it did. I think Carr got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. It almost seems like, that happened and people will think about that. So like he'll be like higher owned than he should. Like I think he was like probably like 0.1% owned or something.
It was very low. Yeah, it was like very.
So
very
like,
low.
even if he's like 4% owned now, it's like it already like doesn't make sense because like a bunch of other people. So I probably wouldn't do it even for 150, but we have seen it win. It's possible.
Yeah.
You?
No, not at all. I very rarely play 150, so there's no way. If I was doing 150, maybe throw one lineup with them in there just for the.
I also wonder. I'm gonna look. I wonder if they priced him up. They priced up Fields last night. He wasn't even mint. He was like 10K.
That's crazy.
I'm just looking real quick. Mariota. No, he is a mint pricer. Okay, so at least he is 5K. But yeah, I probably still wouldn't do it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I also wanted to ask, we were talking about the quarterback some. It's always good practice to potentially pair especially if you're doing a captain quarterback, pair him with a wide receiver or some sort of pass catcher. So we'll take it from each side, from Baltimore's side. Is there anyone that kind of stands out for you? I know the model is pretty high on Hollywood Brown, but is there anyone from the Baltimore side that kind of stands out for you as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hollywood is a good one. I think you just have to realize that the way their offense runs, if you look at snap counts, kind of that they play three receivers, Andrews and a running back. Andrews certainly is a good play. He's going to be popular, but he does well. And then Watkins is more of a big name, so maybe Duvernay just because he's in that third receiver role and should get a lot of snaps, but he's not really a name. Hasn't had any huge games. He very easily could do very little, but he's a guy that's probably under-owned, going to get a lot of snaps. And one other thing with Lamar Jackson is he is a little unique in that, at least for me, I don't necessarily feel like I have to stack him with pass catchers every time, just because he has so much rushing ability, especially on FanDuel. Like you can kind of play him on his own, but yeah, I think Duvernay probably sticks out to me as like the high snap under-owned guy.
Okay, nice. Hawk Dark says, "What's your thoughts on Watkins?"
Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess I'm kind of meh. Like, we know he's talented. He is 50% chance of like injuring his hamstring in the first quarter. Uh, and that offense just doesn't, unless they made significant changes, they just don't really have a lot of target volume for extra receivers. So, trying to see what we project his ownership at.
It's like 25% on DraftKings and 17% on FanDuel, which seems too high for me. I don't like him at that point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, look to kind of back to the strength of Las Vegas tonight, in the model and the betting markets. There's Las Vegas receivers in that price range that I think have much higher ceilings than Watkins. Yeah, I think there's better value for sure. I mean, I'll have some, but definitely not over the field.
No. Dot Best here has a question. Says, would you min one of Tucker/Carlson? Would that be a good idea tonight in the high risk contest?
Interesting. So, Brian and I actually were looking at, we did some kind of deep analysis on Showdown the last couple weeks, and that kicker is one thing we looked at. And I will say kicker on FanDuel is pretty strong. I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about the scoring, but I don't know. Min one's kind of aggressive for me. I'd probably just make sure I'm at least at field on them. Tucker is always ridiculous. He's always 30% owned or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't do a min one, but I don't think it's a terrible idea. I definitely would not do more than one kicker in a lineup, and especially not on DraftKings, just with the yardage bonuses and PPR and stuff.
Yeah, that was going to be what my follow-up question was. Yeah, one of the rules I usually set is the max one of kickers. I try not to have two kickers in the same lineup, just because it's so rare for that to happen. Let's see here. Junior says, do you think Josh Jacobs will be lower owned than he should be?
Yes, because the reports about health, and just also at least on FanDuel because of the pricing. I think, and then along with DraftKings, he's probably pretty expensive on DraftKings too. But in general, yes.
Okay, cool. And then Kay has a question here. What's your thoughts on Zay Jones on FanDuel for high risk contests?
Love it. I think to Brian's point there, I think he writes the plugs for Showdown, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, so he made a great point about the receiver depth chart is set, but what actually happens here, I think there's so many outcomes. Zay Jones could play 5% of the snaps or 40, and he's going to be owned like he's playing 5%. So yeah, I think it's a great play. He's a deep threat. He can easily score a 60-yard touchdown or something. Yeah, fantastic play. I'll definitely be over the field on him.
Nice. That's awesome. So here for about 10 more minutes or so, get your questions in. Again, if you're on Periscope or if you're watching this on Twitter, click the link. That'll direct you to a new page. That'll already have you signed in through your Twitter account. You can go ahead and message there. If you're on YouTube, definitely go ahead and hit the thumbs up. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit subscribe button. We're doing more videos, trying to do more videos like this every week. Let me ask you this, Jack. Who's someone that we can even pull up the Occupy model for this if you need to. But who's someone you think is going to be under? It's pretty low owned. Let's say under 20% that you think you're going to have more than the field on.
All right. So I'm just playing FanDuel tonight, so I'll start there. Probably. Let me go to flex ownership here. I think the Duvernay, Zay Jones, maybe Snead. I won't go crazy with him, but those kind of tertiary receivers that are going to be low owned, I think are in good spots. Renfro, he's under 20%. He always gets some ownership. But yeah, those are. I mean, probably those secondary receivers is where my head goes tonight. What are your thoughts on the backup running backs tonight? I'm kind of still trying to figure out what I want to do there. So we got Murray on Baltimore, and then we got Kenyon Drake behind the somewhat sick Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean it's so tough because you think of Kenyon Drake or Cohen when the running back when Jacobs is questionable with an illness. It's kind of like you really have no idea. I feel like that can be a great high risk pivot where if you go over the field on a backup running back for Vegas, Jacobs doesn't do that well for whatever reason, then Drake gets more snaps. That gives his opportunity up. I think that can be a good way to go. I like Tyson Williams a lot, so it's kind of hard for me to play a lot of their backups. What do you think, Jack?
Yeah, Tyson's probably another guy that's in a great spot and won't get a ton of ownership because he's not a name, and he's just kind of expensive on FanDuel. I forget what he is on DraftKings. And as you're talking about that, kind of makes me think. Here's one possible case. We've seen this before. What if Jacobs is active, but he's emergencies only?
Mm-hmm.
What if he just stands there, right? I mean, they did call up a practice squad guy, so they have 4 active running backs. So that would get to your point of getting over the field on the backup there. And I think we have seen, Jacobs isn't the third down guy, right? So Drake should have, or not? Is it? Yeah, Drake should have some floor, even if Jacobs is getting a lot of carries.
Yeah, it's very tough, and I'm trying to look here on Twitter as well if there's anything that shows up. So for that Ravens running back situation, very tough. But again, that's what's great for high risk contests. If you can take a stand, and if that stand goes your way, then you're looking great. That's a great way to shoot yourself up the leaderboard. Let's see here, Jack. Is there anything that we haven't covered, or anything that you want to talk about, or waiting for some more questions?
Yeah. How about the I think something we talk about a lot is the kind of the max 1 tight end rule in single game. Do you think tonight is kind of an exception to that rule with given the quality at the position?
I think so. Yeah. Waller, he's great. I believe it's actually his birthday today, so birthday narrative. It's just so tough that he's so expensive, and the fact that he's going to be 50+% owned on both sites. I don't say it makes it hard to play him, but it's going to be interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, it seems like sometimes what I try to do, and I'd recommend this to everyone, is for high risk is kind of go to you can do it in a single builder, or you can just do it in the DraftKings or FanDuel apps, and just kind of like put yourself in the mind of like the chalkiest field player and be like, what are they going to do, right? They're going to like latch on to those stud names, and then you can kind of get a feel for what lineups they're looking at. So to your point, you jam both quarterbacks in and Waller, you're kind of screwed on FanDuel. There's just very, very little options, and that's what tells me, well, so the field's probably going to have to pick between them. So yeah, no, I agree though. I think 2 tight ends is probably okay tonight, and Waller's tough. I mean, he's so good. He gets snaps out wide. Usually I'm under the field on him and praying, but I don't really feel good about it.
Yeah, nothing like being under-owned on him, and you see him line up in the slot, and you're just like holding your breath every other play. It's the worst.
Yep.
Yep. So we got some questions here. One from Hawk Dark says, "What's your thoughts on both Edwards and Ruggs? They both rank highly in the model."
Yeah. So why don't you take that first, since you are the model guy? What do you think the model's picking up on there?
So let me go ahead here. Let me refresh the model here, and let me see what's going on. For that, let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, it normally ranks receivers pretty highly. I'm not against playing multiple pass catchers in the same lineup. I think the great game script for that is it could be the 2 main game scripts. It could be the Raiders are behind, they constantly have to throw, or it's a low scoring game and they're the only 2 people to get touchdowns. So if you think the Raiders have a chance of being blown out, then I think that could be a way to go. It's definitely a game script there.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both great plays. We've already mentioned that the model is pretty strong on Las Vegas. Sharp betting is strong on Las Vegas. Baltimore lost significant pass rushers in the offseason. They have 2 cornerbacks that are very, very good that are out. A lot of times the public is sort of slow to pick up on those kind of off-season changes and injury impacts when they're not like a quarterback or a wide receiver or something. A lot of times they kind of don't think about that. So those guys are in fantastic spots. Now, will they take advantage of it, or will Waller just catch all the touchdowns? Can't control that. But I definitely think they're very good plays. They can help you leave salary on the table to create unique lineups. Honestly, I think if one of them can outscore Waller, then but a lot of people on this site will probably do well tonight.
Yeah, and Hawk actually makes a good point here. Would you fade Carr on FanDuel for Waller? I'm trying to think of a game script where Waller's in the optimal, but Carr's not.
Yeah, so I wouldn't, and I think you're right on to the kind of the crux of FanDuel tonight, which is you kind of have to pick between those two. If you jam both of them in Lamar, your options are so limited. And it's kind of a feeling, and it's also just backed up by all of our ownership projections that we do for these single games. The underdog quarterback in these spots just very frequently goes under-owned. And so I would tonight I'm going to be over on Carr and under on Waller. And it's not because I think Waller's in a bad spot. It's just I think like we talked about with the wide receivers, there are a lot of paths for Carr to be optimal without Waller. But to your point, if Waller's optimal, it's kind of hard for Carr not to be. And then you're kind of stuck with if they both do well, it's probably some lineup that uses all the salary and it's duplicated a bunch of times, and you're not winning anyway.
Yeah.
At least for high risk.
Exactly. Yeah. Ed has a question here. Says, which two would you pair with Carr between Zay, Ruggs, and Edwards? I'll let you get that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think you could come up with any valid combination there. That's why I like playing multiple lineups. I don't have to really make those calls, but I think maybe plug in one of them and then try to build the rest of your lineup out and just try to play around with a few options and see what looks good, or maybe try to play some 3 max if you're hand building, and then when you can play a couple different combos just so you're not kicking yourself if you pick the wrong ones.
Yeah, I was like, that's where you just put in like the each player in Excel and just do rand between and just figure out which.
Yeah.
Just have it pick one for you and you're good.
Yeah, I will say, for a very high risk large contest, I'd probably lean playing Zay Jones as one of them just because he's going to be so low owned. For like smaller field stuff or like maybe like 5x or those 100 player tournament type contests, I'd probably lean with more just the starters. Because Zay Jones very likely could get 0 points too, but he's just going to be very, very low owned.
Yeah. I actually like this question here from Corey. I think it's worth it. What do you think, Jack, about doing a 3-2 Oakland stack on FanDuel with Lamar at MVP?
You like it?
Yeah, I'm thinking, Lamar's probably the only one where he, because he has such a high rushing upside. I feel like that's definitely one way to get different if you're trying to be unique in a high risk contest. And I could see scoring being very concentrated on the Ravens and then spread out a little bit more through Vegas.
Yeah. So if I don't need to share my screen, but you guys read my mind because I literally have that as a custom rule right now. I'm staring at my own tonight. When Lamar is MVP, basically max 2 Baltimore players.
Wow.
So yeah, I think it's a great move. It's a high risk move for sure, but I think it does make sense. Like if Lamar is the optimal captain, it's likely that he stole a bunch of points from his teammates. Whereas if Las Vegas is going to keep up, they're going to be throwing the ball. So I think the 1-4 and 2-3 lineups are very good high risk plays, and it's a great way to play Lamar at MVP, but still be different than the field.
Yeah. Aaron says Edwards or Ruggs if you're only picking one. I would probably select Edwards just because he's higher rated in the model. What do you think, Jack?
I'll go with you. Probably higher rated, lower owned, cheaper.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. More chance to leave salary on the table.
Definitely. So, all right, it's 7:25 where I'm at according to my clock. So we're going to hurry and get up out of here. Jack, is there any last lingering thoughts or anything else that you wanted to add on before I take us out?
Nope. Good luck making decisions on Lamar, everyone. It's never easy. But hopefully we've laid out some options for you at least to consider.
Definitely, yeah. You hit that on the spot. Again, so if you're new here, definitely go ahead and hit that like button. On the left side of your screens where you can check us out at occupyfantasy.com. That's our daily plug. For the Monday edition, has our DFS picks and advice for both FanDuel and DraftKings. Membership starts as low as $7 per week. You also can get access to our lineup builder that's powered by Jack. It's DFS Magic. Absolutely powerful, one of the most smartest lineup builders in the industry. But until next time, I'm Moose, and with Jack from Occupy Fantasy and DFS Magic, have a good night.